Doing very well.
Doing great.
See you, Eric.
Looks like we're live. Huh?
Yeah.
We've
very
got
good.
we got Dublin, Ireland. We got what part of California, Hari?
San Francisco Bay Area.
San Francisco and Pittsburgh. Although I'm not in Pittsburgh today, but want to thank you guys for joining us in our roundtable session today here, specifically talking about the opportunity around third-party support, which is becoming a big topic across our customers, and across the globe. Excuse me, and really the opportunity that what's going on in the marketplace today. But before we begin, I'll turn it over to Hari. You want to introduce yourself, and then Tomas, a little bit about Origina, and then we'll get into kind of trends and spend, and then let's chop it up in this discussion.
Yeah. Now, I appreciate the opportunity, Eric, and the Green Cabbage team. Thank you for putting this on. My name is Hari Candidai. I run global marketing here at Origina. I've been with the company about 1.5 years, but not new to the third-party software maintenance space. Been in the industry for over 10 years. Saw the whole the evolution as part of my former company, Rimini Street. But here at Origina, and my mission is to run global marketing. Appreciate the opportunity here.
You bet. And but for our audience, Hari does not really look like that. He's having an issue with his camera. He's a little better looking than that, right, Tomas? But
yeah, he is much better looking than what we're seeing on the screen, to be honest with you, 100%.
Sorry, guys. I couldn't get my camera up in time.
He's having some real withdrawal symptoms after COVID and 2.5 years of online conversations, meetings. That's it. His camera's just gone on strike today, just as we go live.
This is my
everybody.
Third webinar for the week. So yeah, I think the camera's gone on strike.
It's my turn to talk. It's my turn to talk. Hi, everybody. I'm Tomas O'Leary from Origina. I'm the CEO and founder of Origina. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit about the value we bring. We're delighted to be able to join you, Eric, and your team at Green Cabbage here today. So thank you for inviting myself and Hari. In case any of your listeners and viewers are not familiar with Origina, and we will be hopefully by the end of this webinar, but we are a independent third-party software maintenance company, specifically targeting IBM and HCL software, distributed and mainframe. But in simple terms, at Origina, we like to talk about the fact that we want to change the software world. And we'll get to talk about big budget problems and lots of stuff with you, Eric, now and shortly. But we like to solve those problems. And we're looking forward to this debate on how do we deal with that big budget issue, as you describe.
It's certainly a big budget issue. Again, my name's Eric Cunningham. I'm the founder and CEO of Green Cabbage, spend analytics firm based in Pittsburgh, serving companies across the globe. We really focus on two categories. We focus on indirect technology, which is a big part of this conversation today, as well as contingency labor. And then we just launched a new practice in the clinical space that you'll be seeing a lot more stuff from us here in the near future. But let's kind of frame this conversation up. And I asked my team to put together some trends and spend, and then we'll really unpack what's going on in the third party opportunities that we see that are out there today. But this is definitely a conversation that is taking place in the boardrooms and the CIO's office, the CFO's office, and certainly the CPO offices across the board. So let's go to the next slide here and talk about trends that we're seeing out in spend. So what happened in 2022? So what happened in 2022 is, there's two ways that, if you're a software company, other than, maybe one or two people out there in the industry, but you're measured on EBITDA, right? Profitability. And you get the profitability one of two ways. You get there by increasing your margins, or you get there by decreasing hard dollar spend. So software providers, although you might see revenues declining, their margins are getting higher. And we'll talk a little bit about that a bit, but I'll leave you with this real quick on that point. You as a customer, your success gives the success of these software providers business as well too. They're predicated on your success. So the more you increase revenue, The more you increase headcounts, they're getting the benefit from this with very to little cost of sale. On-prem maintenance and support. These guys are going to talk about this today, but 8 to 14%. What are you getting for it? What's the value that your organization's getting by these providers increasing the support arbitrarily, so to speak? 15 to 20% increase in spends for VAR. So if you were spending 50% of your spend last year through a VAR, you can expect to spend an additional 15 to 20% in 2023. These suppliers are really pushing the paper through these VARs. They want their money quicker, right? They're putting a lot of that heavy paper pushing on top of them. Human capital. What happened to rate cards? This is, I'm down here in Miami today going to meet with a client that has a significant amount of contingency labor. What happened to the rate cards? During COVID, they all kind of went away, right? And most companies now, I saw an article on LinkedIn this morning, they're not looking at FTEs, they're looking at contractors. So how do you make sure that you're getting the right, investment for the value that you're getting out of those people? 90% of our clients at Green Cabbage across the globe have unprotected support. This is where you go into your first renewal year and you ask yourself, why did my cloud provider just increase my support or my annual increase my ARR, by 46% or 36%? And they're doing it every day. Third-party support is growing. I don't need to belabor this one. We're going to get to Hari and Tomas to talk about this, but this is a huge benefit for our customers today. And then you've got 10 to 15% of the license and the enterprise or unused license. There's plenty of opportunities to reduce your configuration, but the question is, with these cloud providers, are they going to reduce your spend? And then the last one here is, I think across the board with our clients, about 80 to 85% are all undertaking an audit this year. And, the IBMs of the world are all leaning in on this as well, too. So a little bit of trends in spend. And Natalie, let's go to the next slide real quick. So I show you the next slide just because, deals are changing left and right. Pricing and packaging is changing. Customers need to understand what market intelligence that they can have access to be able to make better decisions in a compressed manner with the outcomes that they deserve. So, our company did last year, I think it was like almost 6,700 deals through the platform. So Green Cabbage One Workspace platform consumed that many deals. These are what the deals look like when they entered the platform. They all got into the green space when they left. But enough about Green Cabbage and the marketplace today. Let's get into the conversation, guys.
Yeah.
So we call this chopping it up. Let's chop it up a little bit, Tomas and Hari. All right. So the theme that we talk about today, save, innovate, and grow. Why is only 10% of the IT budgets available for fund innovation? So who wants to take this and kind of elaborate a little bit further into that when we talk about third party?
Yeah, I'm happy to open up and let Hari join in. I loved your slides there and your data points. Actually, really, really poignant to see them there on a slide. Those price increases over the last 12 months or so, it's quite significant. I mean, if you think about even where inflation's at, it's way ahead of inflation. And like those spend issues, as you described them, across all categories. And it's crazy. Like, I mean, obviously the category we specialize is software maintenance. And that doesn't even include, by the way, you mentioned at the body, you talk about the 2023 being the year of the audit. That's not going to appear on those spend increases, although it's going to be a spend increase by stealth that's going to push that up even higher. So there's some crazy stuff going on there. But back to your question, why is there only 10% of your IT budget available? That's a good question, because that number has been moving for the very reasons you outlined. It is, these price increases have been a step ahead of inflation for the last 10 years plus. Okay. There used to be a thing where it was 4% was inflation was typically for a long time, throughout the 90s and early noughties. We've had 10, 15 years of very low inflation. That number has been creeping up, and it's just had a huge jump up. So you're left with, there's some stats in this where if you look back 10 years ago, those numbers were 70% was what was consumed, leaving a 30% and it's 30% of a maybe smaller number because your budget's relative to the size of companies spend on IT. Now you're dealing with that 90% is of a much, much bigger number that's consumed. You're left to make those changes to innovate in your business. You really are very, very tight. But not only that, not only are you in the situation where your budget is very limited budget available to you, when you look at what you're getting for portions of that spend that you're already making, particularly around some of the categories that you've outlined there, you could argue that dealing with VARs, there's good reasons to do that, and maybe some of that increase is warranted. But in software maintenance, particularly for on-prem software maintenance, when the trend is to move to the cloud, where the trend is to squeeze more and more profit out of those support lines, to deliver very little added value, and to come back to those customers every year or two to shake them down, what I call the shakedown, which is the audit, to take more money off the table. So it is next to impossible for companies to really innovate based on the current situation. And we encourage companies all the time, Eric, and you've heard us talk about this. There's a term we use here, being a healthy skeptic. We really need to see this change. We need to think power has to go back into the hands of the buyers. And I love what you guys do at Green Cabbage, because that's exactly what you do. You move those numbers from red to green, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're giving power back to organizations, which is perfect.
Thanks, Tomas. All right, anything to add?
No, I think Tomas hit all the main points, right? It is amazing, Eric, those numbers that you put up there in an environment like this, when companies are laying off. How do you justify those increases? 8 to 14% increase year over year when I have to lay people off, and so there's that. Going back to the question, right? 90% of a typical IT budget, as you said, goes towards keeping the lights on. And why? How did we get to this in the first place? All the points that Tomas made. I have a perfectly fine running system. You suddenly call end of support on that, and I got to upgrade just to stay supported. And upgrades are not cheap, millions of dollars right there. That's one way it gets tied up, just to keep your backend systems continues, this upgrade cycle, this refreshing of backend systems. That's going to consume your people time and money, as one CIO mentioned. That keeps my best and my brightest people focused on this upgrade project. And what value? I think value is a good word. You started off with that, Eric. What value are you getting for that 8 to 14%, right? You got to ask those hard questions. And yes, this healthy skeptic mindset, that's what I believe everybody needs to start looking so hard into these numbers, because this is untenable. I mean, keep going. Well, it just goes one way, and that's going up, and that's going to inch forward, right? 90%, 92, 93. And where's the money to innovate? So anyway, well, we're saying the same thing here.
Yeah, and guys, I know we're focused on software here a little bit today, but it's the same scenario in the hardware space, right? I bought this type of component. The supplier's coming back to you 3 years saying, "Oh, by the way, I have a new one. It's better. It's shiny." And but by the way, it's going to cost you more, right? So there's the opportunity for that as well too. But if you really unpack, the on-prem and what you're paying for, and you were to go back and ask your OEM, right? What am I getting here? We talk about value here. I'm spending 22 to 24 to whatever percent of my net fees that I paid for the L's. We call them license fees, right? What am I getting for that? And how much money are you putting towards innovation? Yeah. Right. And oh, by the way, the last thing I did is I pulled my support tickets. Congratulations, your stuff doesn't break. Right. But, in some cases, we still need the support, right? But what is your support organization and how are you assigned to us? But we'll get into that here. So how are the OEMs creating these barriers to the business? You want to take this first, Hari or Tomas?
Yeah,
I mean,
you go first.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, you know, it's the policies, the vendor policies, the models they're designed to benefit them, right? We just talked about this. How are they making it difficult to do business with them? Let's talk about that for a minute. So I have a perfectly fine running system, and I'm paying you this 22%, and you're continuing to increase that. So what are the scenarios there? Scenario is, I got this thing seldom breaks. And I mean, you know, these are systems that have been perfected over the last couple of decades or even more. So there's nothing wrong. It's running just fine. Then one way you're making it hard for me is you're ending support on that, just because you want me to move to the next version. And how can I go to my CFO and justify that I need $8-10 million for this upgrade when all the things that we talked about, right? When, you know, you talked about the profitability and you talked about the cost, so that's not going to happen. So then are you giving me innovation? No, because you're making it even harder, because you're now pointing me towards your roadmap, which is moving to the cloud. Why in the world would I go to cloud? And here's a big misconception, right? As we all know, cloud is not cheap. What is that cutover point? What's that year 3, year 4, when you are probably going to end up paying more? So it may seem a good story in the front, but this forced march is making it hard for me to do business with you. And on top of that, if I don't go with your roadmap, then are you going to come and knock on my door and slap an audit and make it even harder? These are the times we're living right now.
Yeah, I think it's also their strategy. There's been a lot of propaganda, what I call, around this whole evergreening strategy. You touched on it in the hardware, Eric, there a few moments ago. That they're showing you this new shiny thing, and you're asking what's the value in that, and why do I need to ultimately make some of these fundamental changes to technology when it may not even be necessary? You know, it may not. It's not just that it's not necessary, and you may be concerned, and as we all should be, about maybe the impact on where all the raw material is going to come for all the new stuff and what happens to the old stuff. Okay? Even if you just weren't interested in that, the effort and risk to make all those changes is just huge. I always go back to the story, Eric, the one of Windows 7. The Windows 7, Microsoft comes to an end of support at the beginning of 2020, just before the pandemic started. And there was an estimation at one point in the journey of Windows 7. I think Microsoft boasted that there was 1.4 billion devices running Windows 7. Everything from obviously laptops, computers, through to devices, ATM machines, devices in hospitals, factory floors, etc., offices, and so on. By the autumn, fall of 2019, there was an estimate done by a couple of organizations. They range between 200 million to 400 million devices, which was a few months before the end of support date, were still running Windows 7. Okay. Now, obviously, laptops, PCs, it was easy to move off them. In fact, you could probably you could reuse perhaps those laptops and PCs, maybe refresh them. That's what probably most people did. But then you get to a point where what was left? It was mostly those other things, ATM machines, devices in hospitals, and so on, as I mentioned earlier. What happened to those post January 2020? Okay, the effort of actually replacing them, all of the manpower and costs and everything, which is totally unnecessary. If you think about it in today's world, we're using less cash. So why do we need new shiny ATM machine? We don't need it. You know, it makes absolutely no difference. If they wanted to shine it up, they could have just polished it. They don't need to. They don't need to replace the thing with some new operating system when it's perfectly fine. Okay, yes, they might have to secure it. They might have to put a little bit extra work, but absolutely, there's absolutely zero need. And what a waste of resources! What a waste of time! And that's what they've done. These barriers they create are barriers that force us to do work that we don't need to do. They force us to spend money that we shouldn't be spending. Like we need to change this. Absolutely need to change this.
Yeah. Just picking on speaking about making it hard, right? Just picking on Oracle here, Jan 23rd. I mean, recent announcement. How they changed the way they're going to license Java for businesses, right? It's completely, totally out of the blue. Nobody saw it coming, so it's not going to be offered as a subscription anymore. It's not. It's going to be employee based. Whether it could, whether your employees use it or not. That's one example, just one example of how the licensing models, and we talked about support models, but licensing models can be changed by these big players, and because that's how they are going to continue to make money. Now, what is in it for me as a customer? Why would I pay for somebody that is not using it, be it my partners, consultants, contractors, employees? So just an example, Eric.
Now, these are great talk points. Can you imagine the conversations that are going on at all these clients about how do they budget, right? Because it's impossible. It's impossible to budget. It really is impossible. So we're obviously there's a lot of pain here, but let's get back into having the customer control the narrative, and that's kind of like they're locked in right now. But there's another option, that's third party. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of third party. Let's hear some stories about some of your clients. I don't mention their names, but how easy it was to go over to third party. And by the way, there's other third party companies out there. Origina focuses really on IBM software, but also some hardware too. So maybe you guys can elaborate of what you're doing. I think the Z series you're providing support on as well. Is that right, Tomas?
Yeah, no, it's all software actually, Eric. But yeah, it's the Z series is sometimes just called hardware, but there's a significant software stack on the Z series. So yeah, it's all of the IBM software products.
So the CICS, DB2.
Yeah, MQ on the mainframe, WebSphere on the mainframe, plus a whole range of distributed products. I guess, yeah. I mean, Harry has some great stories. He might jump in a moment, but at a very top level, really, what it is organizations that are typically moving to us have obviously significant investments with IBM, have undoubtedly typically a strategy over time to perhaps move slightly away from IBM. That's happened because perhaps the technology roadmap that IBM is on, they're on a different one. Or what's often happened is the split between Kyndryl and IBM has driven a slight kind of dilution in the overall spend and importance of IBM as a supplier sometimes. I mean, IBM have no doubt countered that with their Red Hat investment, but lots of companies are not going that way. They're going a different way. So it's all about the strategy. So when the strategy diverges from IBM strategy, that's where they can and where they're brave enough. That's where we see the opportunities. So significant spend, divergence, and most importantly, they can't get access to the skills. It's the service. The service in our industry, and it's not the only service, because if you could ring up your bank in the morning or your insurance company, you get the same service. Pretty poor. You'll be put on hold, automated, call centers, God knows where. It's going to be tricky. But that's been happening everywhere. The dumbing down of service when you shouldn't never do that. It's technology. Technology has become, like years ago, service and technology was superb. But technology was less important to businesses than it is today. Now, service is appalling and it's more important. How did that happen?
Yeah.
What went wrong there? So that's what we do, by the way. We bring back the service that you used to get years ago. We bring it back to the basics. We call it a concierge mindset, but it's thinking what we're trying to think for our customers. We're trying to see around corners for customers, problems they haven't even seen yet. Even if they're planning to move away from this, what happens is those journeys take a long time, and we're very much part of that. You've some good stories, Harry. You've been
those are the right points, and let's stay on that track, right? Why are we able to provide that service? Because so that concierge mindset Tomas just mentioned, right? Think about the people that need to come together, the expertise. We talked about the lack of expertise. This is a passionate group. We call it delivered by a passionate group of experts. When I say passionate, I'm talking about people who've written the code in the first place, These are people who've written DB2 code and WebSphere, FileNet, go down the list. These are people who've written books in the first place. This is the kind of people you want supporting your environment. Unfortunately, IBM has steadily let them go over the years, but these people are out there, and that's the expertise that comes to bear here at Origina. And the way I see the service, so the problems we solve, right? Some great cases, and that's why, going back to your original point, third-party software maintenance here at Origina, we're growing at a rapid pace because three main problems. The first one I see is we solve the service problem, right? For all the reasons mentioned. The service problem, because it's so hard to get the right experts on the line. I'll give you a quick example here. A large utilities company in the US, Eric, serving 15 million people. When they first came to Origina a few years ago, they had one of the older versions of MQ. They had a ticket lying with IBM for 6 months. Nobody's getting back to them. We go in 4 hours, solve that problem. And not only did they bring in MQ, after MQ, a series of other distributed products, but going back to where we started, which is we offer now, as of last summer, we support the Z mainframe software as well. So they brought in the Z mainframe software service to Origina. Why is that? Because high maintenance costs, poor IBM support, they don't have the skills, and they need this future. They need a partner that they can trust as they embark on their roadmap, not the vendor dictated, not the vendor IBM roadmap, but their roadmap. So service is one core area. The other reason, Eric, which you touched upon, the budget issue, right? The budget issue is another big problem. Why this is such a fast growing market space, freeing up it's not just the money. Here's a misconception. Most customers think the annual check that they write to IBM or SAP, Oracle, or Microsoft, that's what it takes to maintain your environment. No, that's just what we call the tip of the iceberg, right? That's just 50%. That's just not even the 22% that you're paying. But what about the people, the time, the money that's involved in this whole, in keeping your lights on? We talked about this. We help with that as well. And an example that comes to mind is Sainsbury's, the second largest retailer in the UK. Huge company, right? Think about the operations that the scale of their operations. They have so many, 40,000 or so user devices, multiple servers, millions of input, complicated landscape. They didn't have the expertise, but not only that, they had a big problem because they didn't have the budget to keep all this going and support it. So that's when they chose a model like Origina. So freeing up budget is also a very important thing, along with the service. And by the way, we're very proud that they named Origina as the winner in their Save to Invest category late last year. And goes back to everything we're talking about. It's not just cost cutting, right? It's optimizing your costs. Take money out of where the business is not benefiting and putting it where you can get more returns. And that's exactly what Sainsbury's is doing. And imagine the competition in retail, right? If you're an online retailer, the third most visited site in the world, in the UK, and if you had older versions, so you need to maintain all that. So they've been freeing up their budget with. So that's the second part. And the third problem I see is the risk. The risk part. A large insurance company here in the US, on path to go digital by 2024. Can you imagine the complexity of that? Everybody wants to go digital, but what's the risk when I've got the continually evolving landscape? And that's where the experts come to play. Interoperability, security, all of those things. So this is not just a break fix model, right? Third-party software maintenance is much more than that. It's things that you're not getting from your main vendors today. Anyway, let's stop there. Let's keep going.
Well said. Some of you might have seen Exxon went out with their results yesterday, and the CEO of the company said we had to really take a hard look how we ended 2021, because we looked across all categories and we said, where are we getting value? Where are we not getting value?
Yep.
The want and the need. What do I need and what do I want? So what they did is they had a program in place. And by the way, their net margins increased from 10 to 14% in 1 year. I think they posted about a $59 billion profit. You can check it out. I think Darren Wood is the CEO's name.
Just for asking that question, Eric, was it?
Just for asking that question, challenging everybody across. Yeah. What do you want, or what do you need, excuse me, and what do you want? And how are we going to do that, right? So we're working. Yeah, that is leadership, and certainly the value back to the shareholders is paying off if you haven't seen their stock here lately. But again, it's
the
about
why, right?
What's
and
that,
the why? Why do you need this?
Yeah.
Why do you need this? And that goes back to that healthy skeptic mindset. Why do you need to upgrade? Why do you need to pay 22%? Why do you need to stay with the vendor? Asking those questions, whether you
Yeah. Hey, listen, there is no risk. You guys got, how many total clients across the board, Tomas, do you guys have today?
Yeah, we're coming up to 200 clients, about 160, 70 clients active at the moment. Yeah, so we're adding every week. We're adding more clients, so it's and they're all huge organizations. We always say it's like go back to people who have IBM technology. Let's be honest. So software from IBM, they're not going to be one of the companies that have just started in the last 10, 15 years and become massive. We always say this, go back to Fortune 1000 in the year 2000. That's what we say, So that's typically, who were the big organizations then? They would have made significant investments, and they're the organizations with real challenges because they have competitors coming at them like a bulldozer coming at 100 miles an hour. They've got to move and they need nimbleness, and that's so that's where combinations of companies like Green Cabbage and Origina are able to get in there, sort stuff out quickly, get the service you need at the price point you need it at, and not make a song and a dance over it. Not trying to hold on to everything forever. This is nobody has time for that anymore. People don't have time. There's jobs are on the line, businesses are on the line. We have to move faster.
Yeah. No, this has been a great conversation, guys. I know we're at our time here. So for those of you that are listening, you can see the websites down below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Origina team and certainly the Green Cabbage team as well too. I think we use the term better together, right? So we see a lot of deals, right? You saw the volume of deals, almost 7,000. We'll probably do 14,000, 15,000 deals this year. Like we're working with some of the largest companies across the globe, whether they're private equity organizations or financial services or healthcare. The common theme is they're all looking at cost reduction, right? Value and cost reduction. So, we're here to help you guys, and our friends at Origina are as well. But Hari and Tomas, thank you guys. I know I'm a little disappointed Hari couldn't turn his camera on. He did get a haircut last night, I heard. So, and he's got great hair. And for those of you that haven't seen Hari, connect with Hari on LinkedIn and Tomas, myself, and we look forward to any closing comments, Tomas and Hari.
Just to say thank you to you, Eric, and your team at Green Cabbage putting us on. We're delighted to be involved. Great, always looking for a platform to talk. This is what we need to tell the market that there's choices out there. There's choices, and to be skeptical of what you're hearing, including what you're hearing from us. Check it out.
Sure. All right.
I think Harry's mic went.
Camera
and mic.
Boy, the poor guy.
Listen, thank you, Eric.
Yeah. Thanks for the audience for listening to Let's Chop It Up here with Green Cabbage, and we look forward to the next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.
Likewise. Take care, everybody.